My name is Dana and I'm an Australian citizen. I was born and raised in Adelaide, South Australia. This is Azmat Ablay, my fiancé. He is a 33-year-old Uyghur born and raised in Hulja. He is a driving instructor and has a private business selling herbal medicines. His Chinese ID card number is as shown: 654-101-198-605-082-217. He is a father of two young boys. His eldest son Mohammed is 8 years old and his youngest son Mustafa is 6 years old. As well as having sole custody of his sons, whom he has raised himself since they were toddlers, he was also a full-time carer to his father, who suffered from a heart condition. To Azmat, the well-being of his children and father was always his main concern. This told of his loving nature and good character. During his father's frequent hospital stays, Azmat would always be by his father's side, and during the nights he would even sleep alongside his father's hospital bed. This is but one example of their close relationship. To me, Azmat is a wonderful father, a loving son, and my best friend. What struck me was how much his sons adored him. His youngest son Mustafa would cry during the night when he realised his father wasn't sleeping beside him. And I can't help but think of those tears knowing their father isn't in a concentration camp. I still recall the children's laughter as they played with their father. In October 2017, Azmat was detained by the Chinese authorities and sent to one of the many concentration camps. Azmat had not broken any laws nor committed any crimes. He was a law-abiding citizen. He was detained on the basis of being a young Uyghur male. I was in Hulja at the time. However, shortly after he was detained, it was time for me to return back to Australia. I was forewarned by Azmat that he would be sent to the concentration camps, but they did not prepare me for what I had to endure in the coming months. 2 months after he was detained, in December 2017, his father Ablay passed away, knowing his son was in a concentration camp. Through indirect connections, I was told Azmat was released for a period of 3 days to attend his father's funeral. At this point, I didn't know of Mohammed and Mustafa's whereabouts or of their well-being, but I knew this family were no longer together. I had lost contact with Azmat for a total of 20 months. I was convinced I would never hear from him again, and I was completely in the dark. I had no idea whether he was alive or dead. The not knowing was the worst. To the Chinese authorities, he is just a name or a number to reach their quota of detainees. To his children, not only is he their father, but a friend, a protector, a way to a better future. On the 26th of June 2019, I received a WeChat call from Azmat while I was at work. This was the first time I had heard his voice after 20 months of no contact. Our phone conversation lasted all but 1 minute 25 seconds. Hearing his voice after being separated for so long, I was overwhelmed with many different emotions of happiness, relief, and shock, to name a few. We had gone from talking every single day to nothing at all, which was extremely difficult for me. He called me again 9 days later on the 5th of July 2019. This conversation was for 30 minutes via video call. He was visiting his children at the time. This is how I found out his children had been with their mother this whole time. He was in an extremely distressed state, with dark circles under his eyes, and looked very sleep-deprived. This is a very different Azmat from what I know. He seems to have aged a few years from when I last saw him. I don't know what he was subjected to in the camps, and even if I did, I don't know if I could stomach it all. I could tell he wanted to say a lot more than he was letting on. He was very cautious of what he said to me. However, towards the end of our conversation, I think he got to a point where he couldn't hold in his true thoughts any longer. He told me that if I didn't get him out of there, he was as good as dead, that I should do whatever it takes and to never give up on him. I realised I had to speak up for him, to not be afraid any longer and not stay silent in the face of this cultural genocide. During the call, he kept mentioning how he didn't have much time left and seemed to be in a rush. He asked me to not stop reaching out. However, he has not picked up my calls nor responded to any of my messages besides those days he initiated contact himself. He's the type to respond quickly, so these gaps tell me he's only released for a short period of time every given number of days. In this video call, I also saw his son, Mohammed. He did not seem like the happy and playful child I know. It was like a dark cloud was hovering above them both. His son had this sad, haunted look on his face. Azmat had raised his sons as a single father since they were toddlers, and for him to suddenly disappear would have been very traumatic for the both of his children. They weren't attending school either. At the time Azmat was detained, they were both attending preschool, and they hadn't been back since. Azmat would be the one to take Mohammed and Mustafa to school without missing a day, and he was even the head of the parents' committee. Mohammed and Mustafa are now spending their days at home, playing with the neighbourhood children, who are also suffering from a trauma of losing their parents. I can speak out for Azmat, but what about the millions of Turkic ethnic minorities in concentration camps, where they are subjected to physical and psychological torture that we'll never know of? I'm Dana, and this is the end of my testimony.